I went to a high school that had one hallway no one ever used. It was at the back of the old building, near the boiler room, with a single door that never opened. The plaque above it just said, Room 241. Most kids didn't even know it existed. The weird thing is, it was still listed on the class directory, even though no one had classes there. One day after school, I saw the door was cracked open, just a little. I looked inside and saw a row of desks, perfectly clean. One of them had my name written on it in pen. I thought it was a prank, until the next morning, when my friend Jason didn't show up for class. His name was on one of the desks too. Some people say the school erased what really happened in room 241, but they didn't erase it well enough. A few details leaked, a few files, and one voice, quiet, but still here. You're listening to The Fear Right. The day Jason disappeared, no one took it seriously at first. He was the kind of kid who'd ditch school if he knew there was a pop quiz, but he wasn't the type to leave his phone in his locker, or his car running in the parking lot. The weirdest part was his locker combination still worked, but it was empty. Everything gone. Books, notes, even the stickers he'd plastered on the inside were peeled off like no one had ever used it. When they called his parents, they were already on their way to school. They said Jason never came home the night before, and by the time they checked the security cameras, all footage from that wing of the building had glitched out between 4:33 and 4:49 p.m. That was exactly when I saw the door open. I didn't say anything at first. I was afraid they'd think I had something to do with it, or worse, that I imagined it. So I kept quiet, even when the police walked past room 241 and didn't even glance at it. It was like they didn't see it, like it wasn't part of the building anymore. But I started paying attention after that. Every few days, I noticed something new. Someone standing too long at the hallway entrance. The janitor unlocking a supply closet, but looking directly at the wrong door. Once I passed by during lunch and heard something inside, like a dry erase marker scraping slowly across a whiteboard. No one was supposed to be in there. I didn't even think there was a whiteboard. A week after Jason vanished, a new substitute showed up. He said his name was Mr. Hartley and he was covering for our history teacher. None of us had heard anything about a leave or absence. He didn't take attendance. He never wrote on the board. He just sat at the desk and watched us. But every day after class ended, he would ask the same question. Anyone hear anything strange coming from the West Hall? No one answered him. One day I asked him if he knew about room 241. He stared at me for a long time, then said, "That room isn't for students." Then he got up and left. We never saw him again after that. Things started changing in my friend group, subtle stuff. Emma, who used to sit next to me in homeroom, suddenly started getting nosebleeds every morning at 9:17 a.m. Sam, who was usually loud and sarcastic, stopped speaking completely. We asked what was wrong, and he just pointed toward the west hallway. That was it. He wouldn't talk about it, wouldn't go near it. One day I followed him when he left the cafeteria early. He was holding something in his hand. Looked like a class photo. When he passed room 241, he slid it under the door and just walked away. I never saw him again after that. One afternoon I stayed late to help organize the school library. As I was walking past the end of the hall, I noticed something new. A slip of paper taped to the door of room 241. Just one word typed in all caps, assigned. I took a picture of it, but the photo came out black. I mean pure black. No flash, no detail, nothing. I checked my phone's storage later and noticed that photo had overwritten the last 10 images on my phone. They were gone, replaced by duplicates of the black image, each one slightly corrupted with static. I deleted them all. But that night, I got a text. It was from Jason's number. No words, just the photo. A few days later, I got called into the counselor's office. She asked me if I was feeling stressed or having trouble with boundaries. I didn't know what she meant. Then she showed me my schedule. A new class had been added. Independent study, room 241. I told her I never signed up for that. She said I must have. It was on the system. The attendance log showed I'd been going every day, but I hadn't. At least, not that I remembered. I tried to drop the class, but the system wouldn't let me. The button was grayed out. My parents got a copy of the revised schedule in the mail that week. They didn't question it. On the first day the class was listed, I decided to go. I figured I'd open the door myself and see what was inside, once and for all. The handle was warm. The hallway lights flickered as I turned it. Inside, the desks were arranged perfectly in 4 rows of 5. No dust, no smell. Just a faint hum, like an old projector running. Every desk had a name tag written in Sharpie. Mine was at the front. The whiteboard had something written on it. Class begins when all are present. Then the door closed behind me. I didn't hear anyone touch it. I just heard the lock click. I wasn't in the room for more than 5 minutes, but it felt like an hour. The lights never turned on. They didn't need to. The air itself had this weird gray tone, like an overcast sky somehow filled the space. I sat at my desk just to see what would happen. The chair felt warm, used, like someone had just been sitting there seconds before I arrived. The hum got louder when I sat. Then I noticed there were sounds beneath the hum, like quiet whispering layered deep underneath. You couldn't make out words, just breath patterns. Every few seconds, I'd hear something scrape softly across the floor behind me. But when I turned around, the desks were still. When I tried to leave, the door wouldn't open. The handle wouldn't move at all, like it was sealed into the frame. There was no panic at first. I thought maybe it auto-locked or needed a key card. But the more I pulled, the colder it got, like something wanted me to stop trying. Then the room changed, slightly. The desks were closer together, not by much, but I was sure. My chair was no longer aligned with the tile seams on the floor. Then I looked up and saw my name tag had changed. My last name was misspelled. Instead of Derrickson, it just said Derek. Nothing else, like someone had erased part of me. The bell rang in the hallway. I heard it echo through the door. But inside the room, nothing moved. I banged on the door, screamed. No one responded. I don't know how long I stayed there. Maybe 15 minutes, maybe 2 hours. But eventually, the door opened on its own. No one was there. The hallway was dark. Too dark, like the power was out, but just in that section. I walked fast, trying not to look back. The air behind me felt heavy, like it was following me. As soon as I got to the main stairwell, the lights were normal again. Kids were going to class. No one said anything about the power being out. That day, I went to the attendance office and asked them about room 241. They looked at me like I was making a joke. One of the staff even laughed and said, "That room doesn't exist anymore." I asked what that meant. She pulled up a blueprint of the school on her screen and pointed. "That wing was sealed off in 1998 after the gas leak," she said. "No classrooms were left functional." I asked her to double-check the class roster. She did, and my name wasn't on it. The class was gone. Just gone. I even showed her the copy my parents got in the mail. She said it looked fake. Later that week, I stayed after school and went back to the hallway. The door to room 241 was completely gone. I mean it. Not locked, not closed. Gone. Like it had been walled over. There was just drywall now, painted the same dull beige as the rest of the corridor. No sign it had ever been a door. But taped to the wall was a class photo. One I'd never seen before. It showed 20 desks, 19 students, all staring at the camera. The last desk, my desk, was empty. But written underneath was my full name, and underneath that, expected. Things got worse after that. I stopped dreaming. Not in a poetic way, literally. No dreams at all, just blackness every night. My alarm would go off, and it would feel like I'd closed my eyes only a second ago. I stopped seeing people in the halls, not because they weren't there, but because they started avoiding me. Teachers would pause mid-sentence when I walked in. Even the principal looked at me once and whispered something to the vice principal, then immediately walked away. I got called the student from the other list. No one explained what that meant. Eventually, I started looking into old school records myself. The library had a set of archived yearbooks in the back. I found one from 1997 with a page marked unaccounted attendance. It listed 10 names. One of them was Jason L. The others were all marked confirmed. His was still labeled pending. Below that was a form labeled Room 241 Transfer Authorization. The signature was smudged, but the initials were clear, HW. When I showed the librarian, she calmly took the book from my hands and placed it behind the counter. "That section's not for students," she said, almost word for word like the substitute. I started hearing footsteps behind me in the empty hallway. Always the same rhythm, 4 steps, then a pause, like someone wearing school shoes. I started turning around quickly, hoping to catch someone, but it was always empty, until the one time it wasn't. Just outside the walled-up space, I saw a student standing perfectly still, dressed in the old-school uniform from the 90s, faded blue jacket, patch with the original school crest, but the face wasn't visible, just blurred, like it couldn't be remembered clearly. I blinked, and he was gone. I didn't go back to room 241 after that. I couldn't even if I wanted to. It simply wasn't there anymore. But the hallway still was, and I noticed something strange about it. Anytime I passed it now, even from a distance, I'd feel static pressure behind my eyes, like a low-grade migraine about to form. And worse, a soft mechanical sound would start in my ears, like an old intercom buzzing on, waiting for a message that never came. It happened every time. I even brought my phone to record it once, but playback was always silent, just dead air. A few weeks later, my mom told me she got a call from the school asking about my transition. She thought it was about graduation, but when she asked what kind of transition, they hung up. She called back. No one knew what she was talking about. They had no record of anyone calling. When she checked my attendance with the front office, they said I hadn't been present for nearly a month, that I was marked as administrative transfer internal. I was still going to school every day, sitting in class, taking tests, but the record said otherwise. Then Jason came back, or at least something that looked like him. I saw him one afternoon, standing near the end of the hallway, just outside the library. Same hoodie, same backpack, but he didn't walk like Jason. He moved slow, deliberately, like he was being told how to move. When I called out to him, he turned his head slightly, just enough to see his profile. And it wasn't right. His ear was too low. His mouth didn't move. His skin looked like it was wearing itself, like it wasn't supposed to stay on for long. He didn't say anything, just turned and walked back toward the sealed wing. No one else saw him, or at least no one admitted to it. I tried asking our old friend group if they'd seen Jason. Half of them didn't even remember who he was. They stared at me like I was testing them. I even showed them a photo from a class trip. His face was just gone, blurred completely, like a sensor filter. The rest of the image was fine. But where Jason stood, there was just smudged digital static, like the photo didn't want him in it anymore, like he'd never really been there in the first place. I started sleeping in short bursts, couldn't handle full nights anymore. When I did manage to sleep, I'd wake up with notes on my desk, always handwritten, always short. Just things like, "Don't sit there again. It's taking attendance. It wants consistency." Sometimes they were signed, but never with a name, just initials. Most commonly, HW. The school changed my schedule without telling me. Teachers I'd never seen started calling roll using names I didn't recognize. One teacher, Mr. Fenner, looked at me once, paused, and whispered, "You're not supposed to be in this set." Then corrected himself and continued the roll call like nothing happened. His room had no windows. I checked the number outside. It wasn't listed on the school map. Room 242A. I never remembered walking in. Then came the final note, left in my locker. It was written in red ink, almost brown. The paper was soaked in something thick like oil or blood. The message said, "One desk left. You were never absent, just waiting." That same day, the hallway with room 241 was blocked off with scaffolding and caution tape. No official announcement, no construction crews. Just there. No one questioned it. It was like the school accepted it the way you accept cracks in old walls. You just walk around them. I stood outside the barrier for a while, waiting to see if anyone came out. They didn't. But the intercom above me clicked on once, even though it hadn't worked in years. I swear it whispered something. Not in words, but in the rhythm of breath. 4 short bursts. Then silence. On my last day at that school, I took one final walk past the hallway. There was no barrier anymore, just a flat wall. But as I passed it, I heard the soft sound of a chair sliding across linoleum. No voices, no footsteps, just the sound of someone quietly adjusting their seat. I didn't stop. I didn't turn around. Because in that moment, I remembered something I'd been trying not to think about. Back when I first walked into room 241, there weren't just 2 desks with names. There were 4, mine, Jason's, and 2 others. But I never looked at those names. Now I wish I had.